Warning: Congress must end the self-inflicted brain drain of STEM talent leaving the United States. A call for action from an Asian Indian elected official in North Carolina. Let's examine this article. I'm Addi Banks, and this is my report. Stephen S. Rowe was born in Charleston, West Virginia, and he has served as an elected representative and was the first Asian American elected in North Carolina in 2011. His career has included business development. Mr. Rowe writes in this article, "Our global competitors like China have been closing the gap with the United States for decades, building their economies, attempting to take over the manufacturing industry, funding innovation, and producing products that keep technology running worldwide. Without action from Congress, those competitors could win the race for global talent too, taking innovation and economic strength away from our shores. To get ahead in this global competition, the United States House recently passed the Completes Act, which reforms the broken immigration system to allow educated and skilled STEM workers born in another country to stay and work for American businesses." He writes, "I'm proud to be the son of immigrants who came to our country to find the American dream, and I'm working now to ensure that dream is accessible to others in my community. As a council member for Morrisville, one of the fastest growing towns in the Research Triangle Park, I know how crucial it is for the United States to remain the best destination in the world for top talent, minds, and ideas." I'll interject here that Morrisville is one of 5 cities in North Carolina that has experienced an 85% increase in Asian Americans between 2000 and 2010. The fastest rate among Southern states and the 3rd fastest in the country. Statewide, Asian Americans were the 2nd fastest growing racial ethnic group after Latinas. Since 2010, Asian American growth has outpaced that of Latinos. Today, there are 300,000 Asian Americans in North Carolina who make up 3% of the state's population. I'll continue with Mr. Rowe's comments. 2, retain our spot as a global innovation leader. We can't sit by as our competition advances in the market. Congress should be laser focused on making America the best place in the world to get an education, start a company, produce goods, and fund cutting edge developments. Right now, we continue to slip behind because our immigration system doesn't promote high-skilled workers in science, technology, manufacturing, and engineering by giving them a pathway to stay and contribute to the United States after they receive an education. Losing those students and professionals to other countries will prove detrimental to North Carolina's economy. In fact, Our tech industry adds nearly $49 million to the economy each year, making North Carolina's technology sector the 13th largest in the country. That sector also employs more than 360,000 people and continues to grow. However, that trend could soon reverse under current immigration policies at a time when the United States needs more workers, not less. We already face a national and statewide shortage of skilled professionals. Before the pandemic, there were nearly 170,000 open jobs in the tech and innovation sectors. Today, there are more than 3 million open jobs in various STEM, healthcare, and professional services roles nationwide. Creating options for international students to work in the United States, like the reforms in the Completes Act, could cut the STEM-related workforce gap by a quarter and add more than $230 million to America's economy over the next decade. Until Congress acts, the self-inflicted brain drain of talented professionals who go to school in America and then are forced to leave and take their ideas with them continue to benefit our competitors like China. We need our leaders in Washington, D.C. to come together and find a bipartisan solution to address our talent, manufacturing, and workforce shortage before it's too late. Senator Tom Tillis has sponsored legislation in the past to support American research. He voted in favor of a more narrow version of the Completes Act, the United States Innovation and Competition Act of 2021. In a rare bipartisan vote, he and his Senate colleagues recently voted to send USICA to a conference committee with the House. I encourage him to prioritize keeping our country ahead of China and leading the global innovation race by including important immigration provisions in the final version of the legislation. And I, Mr. Tillis, encourage you to look to HBCUs to fill this gap. Rowe continues, we have to revitalize the American dream for the next generation of hardworking North Carolinians. Our state's vibrant tech industry is an economic powerhouse, but it can only stay strong and keep creating jobs for everyone if we allow businesses to hire the talent they need to grow. North Carolina has always represented what's possible when education, innovation, and resources come together. The foreign-born STEM provision in the Compete Act are one step toward a nation where those things are possible within the research triangle and beyond for years to come. I read this in awe. First, this implies that unless foreign-born people save the STEM industries in America, we will lose to the world. This is what happens when our perspective and lack of education leads to heads and hearts focused in the wrong direction. I choose not to question the sincerity and allegiances of Mr. Rowe and others who believe as he does. Perhaps they do not know that they advocate displacement of others instead of developing human capital most entitled to America by legacy, proven achievements and contributions, and due as long-term and native citizens. Perhaps he does not know the history of Americans who brought STEM to the world, why his homeland students come here to learn STEM. What I do know is that immigrants must be educated to assimilate in the building of the country they now live in. They represent America and not former homeland interests, and must embrace the natives that they have joined. A very quick history lesson, Mr. Rowe. Black Americans do not lack STEM credibility. This week, Google recognized the innovations of Elijah McCoy. But don't stop there. Read about Thomas Jennings, Andrew Beard, Samuel R. Scrotrun, Thomas Elkins, Joseph Winters, Lewis Latimer, Granville Woods, and scores more who earned United States patents before 1900. You insult our entire community, suggesting that we need outside contributors to save us. It is a myth that you are needed to fill gaps. Around the world, there is no lack of talent, intellect, and ability. What is lacking is opportunity and respect for human resources, the true drain loss. You widen the wealth and income gaps among populations that are deemed unworthy to be trained for these jobs when others are allowed to replace rather than build from within. It is potentially criminal to natives and legislators who support acts like Completes should be held accountable. The question is, once this is realized, what then? Another brain drain consideration, this article. Nearly 85% raise in brain drain from India to the United States in 10 years. Migration of Indian scientists and engineers to the United States has increased by 85% in 10 years, a report of the highest scientific body of the United States has said. The report of the National Science Foundation, Immigrants' Growing Presence in the United States Science and Engineering Workforce, Education and Employment Characteristics in 2013, released this month, said that of all the immigrant scientists and engineers in the United States in 2013, 57% were born in Asia. Among the Asian countries, India continues to its trend of being the top country of birth for immigrant scientists and engineers, with 950,000 out of Asia's total 2.96 million. From 2003 to 2013, the number of scientists and engineers residing in the United States grew from 21.6 million to 29 million. An important factor in this growth has been immigration. In 2013, 18%, 5.2 million, of the scientists and engineers residing in the United States were immigrants, whereas in 2003, this was 16%, 3.4 million were immigrants. The most common broad fields of study for immigrant scientists and engineers in 2013 were engineering, computer and mathematical sciences, and social and related sciences. Quote, India's huge population of talented youth means that we have enough young minds who can contribute to India from India and to India from outside India, contributing back to home. We must continue to develop more excellent institutions and opportunities here so that the best have avenues here and not only abroad. This development of excellence is indeed happening. This from the Secretary, Department of Biotechnology in India. He goes on to say, we need to create an environment in which innovation flourishes. Otherwise, the innovations will either play safe and not innovate, or they will leave to become a part of other societies, which encourages innovation. A fraction of the scientists and engineers are returning, he says, assuming 15% of them are the ones that have come back, it is just 30,000. Consider the concerns of Prime Minister Modi, who is calling for a reversal of the brain drain, for Indians to stay and build India. But Indians are giving up their passport in droves, the article says. At some point, truths must be recognized, and the better life conditions for citizens taken into consideration, or every nation will feel the pain. Putting citizens first in every nation, every homeland, will ensure not only their growth, but their preservation. Contributions to India from outside of India was expressed by the Secretary as a loyalty to their homeland. Representative Rowe does not share with fellow Americans that India is the world's top receiver of remittances, claiming more than 12% of the world's remittances in 2015. Remittances to India stood at nearly $19 billion in 2017. He does not tell his constituents how much leaves North Carolina each year. No, Mr. Rowe, that every American descendant of slavery living in North Carolina, employed in the tech industry, will send no money outside of America.